Mick, you don't even get it. I listened to like, I reckon, 5 hours straight of all talk.
Getting some good feedback, Jolly, which is good.
My face ended up just sliding on the cricket pitch.
Well, it's been 27 years, but we're back. It's Hawk Talk, the podcast and the show. We bring you everything that's going on around the Batemans Bay Football Club. I'm your host, Joel Erickson. That's the other bloke over there is my co-host, Mick Kenny. I've given him enough accolades over the years. I think everyone knows who you are by now.
How are you, Jolly?
Yeah, good, Mick. It's been a big month, and it's probably been about a month since our last show, I reckon. But I think if anybody had seen how busy not only you but a lot of other people at the club were trying to get both Huddle Round and then your first like kind of regular home game out of the way for this season, I think people would very much understand why it's been such a delay between shows. I think you have probably been run off your feet, haven't you, just a bit?
I have, mate. Yeah, it's been a very busy start to the football season, but yeah, probably wouldn't have it any other way, mate. It's been hugely successful few weeks as well, which has been fantastic. So I'm sure we'll delve into that as we go through the show.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about Huddle Round and a lot about the successes of this last weekend gone past. I mean, we'll get into this a bit later as well. But if Huddle Round might have been the biggest weekend in the club's history, given the context. Last weekend, also given the context, might be one of the club's best. And we'll talk about why soon if you don't know. But yeah, look, we're 3 weeks and 2 games into first grade life. And yeah, I guess my first question for you, Mick, from a coaching perspective, is how different is it to the community game?
Yeah, well, it's sort of we found out pretty quick, Charlie, at Huddle Round against Tuggeranong, who come out of the blocks and blew us away in the first 10 to 12 minutes. But yeah, I thought after that, once we sort of settled into it, I thought the back half of the first quarter we started to find our groove a bit, and then obviously the start of the second we kicked back to back goals, and we thought, righto, we're in this. And then, to be fair, the third quarter we really dominated from a statistic point of view. But yeah, just couldn't get the score on the scoreboard. Last quarter, they kicked what I think six straight goals, which I mean we fully understand that we're gonna have those little patches this year. That's just where we're at as a football club. We're stepping up into a higher grade that we're not used to. We're not used to the speed. We're not used to that opposition as well. So it's a lot of unknown. But I was really proud of the boys, especially the way that they ripped in after that game. We were just talking off air then about at this level now we get all our statistics, we get all our match footage. And the boys have really ripped into that, and they want to learn. They're eager to learn. They want to get better, and it probably showed it after having a couple of weeks off. It showed on the weekend, that the improvement was there.
Yeah, well, I mean, you ticked off a major milestone over the weekend. We got first wins under the belt for both the senior men, senior women, and the Rezzies. Had a big win. The Rezzies did. Look, let's talk a little bit more about Huddle Round before we get into last weekend, though, because it was so much more than just the first game for the Seahawks. That Saturday, there were 4 games of footy. One really cracking game. I think that Queanbeyan game was probably the game of the round. They came back from 42 points down or something like that, and it was the first, like, they were down 42-0, and it seemed like Belco just kind of it's almost like they stopped playing or they started trying to protect the lead way too early. But that was a cracking game.
Yep.
And to add even more excitement in the fourth quarter, it looked like Queanbeyan had it done, and then Belco came back and kicked a couple of goals, and then you thought they were going to get it done, and then Queanbeyan got the one right at the end. That was just a great game of footy. Probably one of the best quality games you've seen on that oval, I would imagine.
Yep.
But, you know, we got to see Ainsley's looking really, really strong early. And then obviously the women's games were all pretty tight over that weekend as well. But it was so much more than that. It was just, I think you proved, and from what I could tell from, you know, overhearing people from AFL Canberra and other clubs, I think you proved that this club has what it takes, especially off the field, to be at this level. And I think Huddle Round proved that. Is that kind of the feeling you got?
Yeah, I think so, mate. The feedback has been, unbelievable. And on the day, I think we were obviously very lucky with the weather as well. Yeah, but the feedback was fantastic from the clubs on the day. Like you said, we had AFL Canberra staff, we had AFL New South Wales ACT staff there. Bloy McKenna, former West Coast Eagles player, Gold Coast Suns coach as well. He was in attendance as well, and then we had some pretty special guests in the local community as well, from the council and whatnot. So, but yeah, overall, mate, feedback was fantastic, and we're very, very close to announcing the date for 2027. So it has been. Hasn't fully been confirmed, but this might be a bit of a spoiler alert. But yeah, it's pretty much locked in at Bateman's Bay again for next year. So we're just working through, a few of those dates and how it'll all look. And AFL Canberra did a pretty detailed survey that they got out to all the clubs, all the players who participated. And we got a bit of a gauge on, I guess, how many people stayed in the area, where they spent their money, whatnot, and looks like it was a very, very profitable weekend for the local community as well, local sponsors, which is obviously fantastic, and that's was one of the main reasons why we push for it. We want to keep our local community and our sponsors happy as well. So if there's a big major event like that, we want to be putting our hand up to host that, to help out not only our footy club but our local community as well.
Yeah, and look, obviously I'm biased in this, but I applaud the AFL Canberra for making that decision, if that is what they end up doing in keeping Huddle Round in Bateman's Bay, because fantastic place to come and spend a weekend at that kind of time as well of the year. As you said, my understanding is that the Cat Club had a big table of about 70 from one of the clubs in Canberra that kind of had their Saturday dinner there, and probably spent quite a bit at the bar if we know anything about footy culture. But yeah, look, I think just the amazing thing to me was it was just seeing how it just felt like everyone was having fun, and I guess that's also part of the fact that it's the start of a new season, but it's a new ground, it's a new place for a lot of these clubs, especially the players. Like obviously we have Ainsley and we have Eastlake that will come down here with their community grades, but you wouldn't usually be getting their first graders coming down. I think it was an awesome experience, not only for our boys, but I think you could just tell that other clubs are having an awesome time as well. So congratulations to you, Mick, and everyone else involved in planning it. It was a fantastic weekend. I was lucky enough to come down and get to see what was happening. I was on the microphone as well. We had a few mishaps with feedback and whatnot, but we got there. Yes.
Wouldn't be an event without a couple of mishaps, mate. That's for sure.
That's it.
Just a couple of things too, mate. Actually got some interesting stats on Huddle Round, which I'm sure our listeners would love to hear. So so there was 1,850 people through the gates over the 2 days. Viewers on All In Sports over the 2 days was 9,500 viewers.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and the don't quote me on this. I think we're just getting the actual figures, but the Batemans Bay versus Tuggeranong men's game on the Sunday was the highest viewed all in sports match that they've ever done for AFL Canberra. So yeah, obviously really successful both on and at the venue, and obviously on the live stream as well. I think everyone wanted to tune in to see how we're going to go.
Well, it was a bit, you know, it was history. Like, yeah, I know we've been talking it up all kind of preseason, but this is a big step for the club, and it's not just big for the club; it's big for the competition. There's going to be a lot of people that will be very curious, as you said, to see how the new boys go. And although the end result wasn't what we were looking for, you know, it was almost a 90-point loss, but that's I think you touched on it that there were long periods of that game where the team looked very, very competitive. And there were long periods of that game where you could tell that there were enough players that we had been playing with at community level who were good enough for this level.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that stood out to me the most is a lot of these guys have made that step up and made it look very seamless. There's going to be things that they'll have to learn. And I'm sure you and Marto and Billy are probably, you know, hammering that message home that obviously there's a lot to learn when you're making a step up like this. But the skills were there. We'll talk about it later, but JT had one of the best games across the entire competition in that huddle round. Something like 39 touches and 8 tackles to go. I think he might have kicked a couple of goals as well. Oh, at least one goal. Like he had a fantastic game. Yeah, I just think there was a lot of positives to take out of that from a footballing perspective, but also especially from a organisation perspective and a club perspective. So let's go through the results that the club had at Huddle Round.
Yep.
The Sunday was the big day for the club. Saturday was obviously amazing, as we spoke of. It was all the established teams. It was the established teams all coming down and showing what the quality was in AFL Canberra first grade. The Seahawks got their go on the Sunday, started with the women's game, and they gave it a red hot crack. I tell you what, they were up by 2 goals at one point in the second quarter. Ran out of legs towards the end, which I guess is to be expected. But I think watching that game, it became very clear from the very start that this team was competitive.
Yeah, definitely, mate. They come up against a very very handy Tuggeranong team as well. Their women's program is going very strong at the moment at Tuggeranong. They played final footy last year, and they've got a number of girls involved in GWS Giants Academy programs as well. So, yeah, they're doing really good things in their women's program. So for us to, like you say, I think we're in front at half time as well. So. You know, I think to have that in your first ever game at that level is fantastic achievement. And I actually missed both goals. I watched the whole first quarter, and then at quarter time I went in to get a few things ready for the men's game, and come out and we were 2 goals up. So thanks to Soph Alves, but. Yeah, definitely unbelievable. I thought from that game, I think we had 3 girls in the team of the week that week. So
Yeah,
Zara
I
Neal,
think it was Sophie and 2 of the youngins. Like it's
yeah. So
really good for
Sophie
them.
Alves, Zara Neal, Isla Judd. I mean, obviously we're pretty familiar with Sophie and even Isla from last year, but Zara Neal showed her class on that on that Sunday of Huddle Round, and you know she was. You know, probably the best on ground for the Seahawks that game for sure, and really excited to see the levels that she's going to go to for the rest of the year.
And speaking of Zara Neal, I actually thought it was a really nice touch. The Ulladulla Football Club did a Facebook post on the day congratulating both herself and Westy from the first grade team. They were both Ulladulla juniors, and I think it's great that other clubs are actually jumping on board with the direction that you guys are trying to take as well. I mean, it would be very easy for a lot of clubs to go, we're not going to celebrate the Seahawks. We think that they're not our club, but I think they can all see the value in what you're providing now with the first grade and with the Rising Stars. And I just thought that was a really nice touch from a club that has probably been a rival club, especially across the juniors for a few years now. So I just want to point that out as well. That's a very nice move from the Ulladulla Football Club. Another one that really impressed me on that Sunday, another youngster, Claire Callahan. She also had a very strong game. I just think you could tell that the club and that team is in a really good shape already, let alone what they could look like in the future if you can keep some of those young superstars. Let's be honest, they're really good players together and continuing to grow. The men's game, as you said, you got jumped, I think is probably the only explanation for it. Tuggeranong came out and kicked like 5 goals inside the first 12 minutes or something like that. It was just, they were pouring it on early. But I think you mentioned it. I think it was a really good sign for the boys that they were able to arrest that momentum about the halfway mark of that quarter and start really working their way into the contest. And I think the second and third quarters were pretty even, all things considered.
Yeah.
It was probably just a bit of, we probably couldn't take our chances to the same extent because of the, there's going to be some differences in quality or differences in structure or whatever it is. But I thought the balance of the game in the second and third quarter was really competitive. Is that how you saw that Huddle Round game?
Yeah, definitely, mate. And I think it's worth pointing out that the turnover in players that we've had in that first grade team. I think there was 9 or 10 new players from round one this year to last year's grand final. So it's obviously going to take time. But yeah, I like I said, I don't think there was anything too negative. There was definitely RFIs, room for improvements, that's for sure. But we've sort of spoke about those at length over that 2 weeks, and like I said, I thought we put a lot of those into practice on the weekend, and you can see the improvement in just 2 weeks. Guys that their connection pieces looked a little bit better. I thought our midfield gelled a lot better this week than it did in round one. And I think it's really important to know that this team's not going to play their best footy until, probably round 10 or round 12. And you're not going to get the very best out of this team in round one or round two as well.
Yeah, for sure. And look, from my perspective, and you can tell me if this wasn't discussed at all, but it looked to me like the main thing that probably needed to be worked on from that game was just probably defensive structures, stopping ball movement through the middle parts of the ground. It just felt like every time Tuggeranong affected a turnover, even in their defensive 50, it was probably going to be coming straight back in. And that's not a skill issue. That's probably just these guys aren't used to playing against these really hard running, fast teams like you're going to get in first grade. And was that a big focus in the next couple of weeks? Just that kind of, we need to probably defend the middle of the ground better.
Yeah, straight away, mate. That was the message. Straight away, that was Sammy Martin's. Everything that we did pretty much in the last 2 weeks was about our defensive work behind the ball, setting up behind the ball, and then our reaction, obviously our forwards, making sure that they were proactive on the turnover as well. And to be fair, for me and Billy sitting there in that first quarter on the bench, it was like rewinding back 2 years ago to our first game when we coached the under-18s in 2024, mate. It just looked like, a team that wasn't ready for what they were up against. And I think we probably just got blown away in that first sort of 10 to 12 minutes. But be interesting to see. Obviously, Tuggeranong is the next team that we play again in another couple of weeks, which, obviously a funny draw. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see the improvement against that team, if there is some, which I'm hopeful that there will be, in a couple of weeks' time.
As you mentioned, a lot of debutants in Huddle Round as well.
Yep.
One of them was our first goal scorer, our first goal kicker, I should say, in first grade. But there were, 9 or 10 new players, as you mentioned, across all lines. Marto obviously being the main one as the new, not only new player, but the new coach. But, his brother Jed has come into this side. He's got a bunch of guys that he's played footy with in the past as well. You're right, it's going to take some time to gel.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, look, Huddle Round was massive, but let's talk about last weekend because this is where a very exciting day for the football club. 3 wins against Gungahlin. The first wins for both the senior men and the senior women. Also a massive win for the Rezzies. And there was a name there that kicked a lot of goals that we might bring up a little bit later as well. But let's start with the women because we said that they looked really competitive in huddle rounds. They turned that into points against Gungahlin, and it was a pretty, well, maybe not comfortable, but it was a pretty convincing win in the end by, I think it was a solid 20-ish points, 15, 20 points.
Yeah.
What did you make of that game?
It's funny. It was a bit of a funny game of footy, to be fair. Pretty tight sort of tussle, and then we went bang, 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 and kicked 3 goals. But full credit to the Jets. They've recruited. I'm sure everyone that was there on the weekend would have known that they've recruited an ex AFLW player in Kate Clarkson, who absolutely murdered us. She was at centre half back. I think she's a 3-time All Australian, best on ground in a grand final for Brisbane Lions, premiership player. So very, very handy. She was probably easily the best on ground. But I thought for us, our girls, especially our younger girls, I mean, Bronte Smith kicked the first goal of the game in a debut. Hunter Absalon kicked the sealer in the last quarter. Millie Duncan played an outstanding game as well. We're talking about girls here who are like 16, 17 years old. They all played fantastic with like we said, our high prize recruits in Zara Neal, Isla Judd, both away with GWS Giants Academy duties. So they're playing Coach League at the moment. So they'll probably be in and out of our setup for over the next sort of month or so. But obviously, without those, we have without Lux in the ruck, who's very, very good player for us. Amy White as well, another one who runs through that midfield. So, and like I say, there was a couple of others that were missing as well. So to have, I guess, pretty much your whole starting midfield from Huddle Round, so Lux, Amy, Tara, Isla, to have them out and to put up a performance like that is something that the girls should be extremely proud of. And likewise with this team, the same as the men. You're not going to see the best version of this team until the end of the year either. But I'm very confident that they're going to be extremely competitive across the board.
What was the feeling like after the siren went? Because obviously there's a lot of factors at play here, but there's just something about obviously that first win. How'd the girls respond?
I actually don't know, Charlie. I was in the rooms with the first grade men, so I'm not too sure. But I did see Hunter's goal while the boys were warming up, and me and Billy were throwing around a few high fives and jumping around over there. But I could imagine that they were extremely pumped and very happy with the work that they'd done for sure.
Have you been able to catch up with Nazi at all since the win?
No, I haven't yet. So girls train on Monday nights now, men's Tuesday. So we'll sort of catch up and engage with the girls on tomorrow night.
Yeah, fair enough. Rezzy's had a massive win, 150 points. It was Dylan Art kicked 10 goals. Is that a permanent thing, or was he just making a little cameo appearance for the club?
That was a cameo, and he owes me 3 schooners, I think, for the 3 that I gave off to him. But it's obviously a good little name to throw into your reserve grade side, mate. But I mean, to be fair, they're probably in for a bit of a long year, the Jets in their second grade, and I think they're aware of that. But for us, I thought we played exceptionally well in patches, and like I said before about the turnover in players in our first grade squad, I think we had 6 guys in that team who played in last year's first grade grand final. And that was obviously myself and Bowie Kelly and a few other guys that have played a lot of footy with each other, in first grade and reserve grade over the last couple of years as well. So it's a pretty handy side, that Resi side at the moment.
Well, I was looking at it. You had both Bailey Twine and Liam Bacco in the back line, and obviously they've been guys who've played a lot of first grade football over the years. Yep. Rory McDonald was running on a wing from what I could see, and he's obviously a guy who's played a lot of first grade over the past few years. So these are all very handy players, and it's good to show that there is a bit of depth at this club. Speaking of depth, let's talk about first grade. I want to talk about some of the key performers from that game, but the one I want to mention first, the one who really stood out to me from what I watched, was really impressed with was James Collins. He making his debut. He's a young guy. He's a Seahawks junior. Played in the back line from what I could tell for a lot of that game. It didn't look to me like he put too many. Didn't look to me like he put a foot wrong, really. Was really hard at the footy, making a lot of key spoils. You must have been super proud to see him playing well.
Yeah, yeah, great kid, Jimmy Collins. I've got a lot of time for him, and it's probably a guy that, yeah, I've been really excited to watch him develop as a junior. And yeah, I've been pretty pumped to obviously get him into this senior setup as well. And I know Sammy Martin is a very big fan of him as well. He went up and helped out Anthony with the Queanbeyan Cup earlier in the year, and yeah, the feedback coming straight from Marto's mouth about Jimmy Collins was, how do we get him into our first grade setup straight away? And like you said, mate, he definitely didn't look out of place. He looked like he was made to be there. I think his defensive stuff was outstanding, tackles, spoils, but on the back of that, I think he had 17 touches and looked really dangerous just with his speed. And yeah, I think the Marto touched on it before the game when we presented his jumper, and I think when you talk about Jimmy Collins, the thing that everyone does love, and the first thing that everyone will say is that is his work rate and that he's a hard worker. And his competitiveness, and that was the thing that really stood out on the weekend. And I think that's no knocking to anyone else in the back line, but I think that was just something that we were missing against Tuggeranong, was that bit of fight and that competitiveness in the back line. And yeah, to come from a 16, 17-year-old kid on the weekend and really set the tone, it was outstanding.
I'll tell you what, he reminded me a little bit of maybe just a younger, maybe slightly quicker version of Cal McDonnell. Both guys who, from what I could see of James, it looks like if you give them a job, they're probably going to do it for you, or at least do their damnedest to do it for you. Both tough characters, both very strong around the footy. It looks like if you could keep those two guys around as kind of medium-sized defenders, you're probably going to have a good little base for your back line for the years to come. And maybe I'm off base by making that comparison, but that's just that was the first kind of guy that came to my head when I was watching Jimmy play on the weekend.
Yeah, no, I think it's fair, mate, for sure. Cal Mack would be happy with that, I reckon.
Cal Mack's, well, I think people at the club know the value that Cal Mack brings. He's a very quiet bloke, but yeah, he's very important on the field. The other thing I want to mention is JT captain Jared Thompson looks already like he could be one of the best players at this level. He's been on he's started the year really well, to put it very simply.
Yeah, he has, mate. On the weekend, we probably gave him a little bit more midfield minutes than probably what he had in the first game as well. It's a bit of a rotation with him and Mitchy Taylor off that half back. And to be fair, both those blokes had leather poisoning. I think Mitchy Taylor had 34 touches for the game as well. So yeah, he's playing exceptional football at the moment. JT leading from the front, and the boys are loving it. And I'm not too sure where they're at with rep squads and whatnot, but I think we're a month out now from the rep game, and you'd have to think that he's knocking on the door for sure.
Oh, he'd have to go close.
Yeah.
A couple of other guys. Michael Thane started the season really well. He's usually, he's at his usual hardworking best. Kyle O'Malley showing that he's up to it at this level. But I also want to point out Buster Ware probably wasn't as effective against Tuggeranong as you might expect from him. Came out looking like one of the best forwards in the comp on Saturday. Kicked 3 goals early, really set the tone. He's massive, and he only came into the setup. Like I know he's been a part of the club, but you didn't really get him over the line until just before the season started, from my understanding. So if he can get himself match fit again, he can start really making a massive impact on games based on what we saw on Saturday.
Yeah, I think both those guys that you touched on. I thought Cyril was outstanding against Tuggeranong. Had a bit of an illness, I think, on the weekend, so he probably wasn't quite himself. And then, like you said, Buster probably wasn't the Buster that we're used to against Tuggeranong, but especially in that first quarter against Gungahl, and he turned it on. And they probably showed him a bit extra attention in the last three quarters, but think what he gives us is he competes all the time, and he at least brings it to ground, and yeah, he's definitely worth a lot to this team, mate.
And one more special shout out from me. I thought Munners played his best game for the club that I'd seen him play on Saturday against Gungahlin. It felt like he was everywhere, especially in that third quarter. When Gungahl had started challenging a little bit, felt like Munners was one of the key guys who, with his speed and his attack at the footy on that, well, it was the far wing for me because we were obviously watching from the clubhouse side on the live stream, but he was immense on Saturday. I thought it's the best game I've seen him play for the club.
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right, mate. And I think the connection piece, which you probably would have seen if you watched the game with him and Sammy Martin, they connect really well, especially on that far side, on that scoreboard side. There was a couple of passages of play, or there was a lot of passages of play throughout the day where they linked up, and yeah, they got some good chain handballs going from that back line into the forward line, and a bit of a new role for Munners too. Probably hasn't played too much footy on the wing, so he's still learning that as well. So, but we sort of feel that that's the best place for him, especially when you've got Sammy Martin and Jared Thompson running off your half back line. So, really happy with Munners' game on the weekend, and I believe he's in Japan at the moment for a couple of weeks on his honeymoon as well.
Oh, there you go. Congratulations, Munners. You play your best game for the club and then you rack off for 2 weeks. I can respect that. Mate, you've been involved with this club for a long time. How did you feel for starters when that siren went after your first grade win? But I guess more importantly, how was the playing group?
Yeah, it's funny. I've had lots of people ask me this question about what did you feel and whatnot, but I think I was still, I was probably in sort of coach mode still, and it probably never really hit me until after we went to the pub, and then I sort of come home and sat on the couch, and immensely proud, mate. A lot of hard work has gone into where we are now. A lot of hard work. That people might not be aware of. So it's pretty satisfying. I think to get the win so early, I think for it to come, round two, to have 3 out of the 4 grades on the day win, it's definitely fills you with a lot of pride, mate, and very proud of the boys and the obviously the women's team as well, and the way that they went about it. But knowing that we've still got a lot of hard work ahead of us, and we're not just happy with the one win, we want to obviously be competitive with these teams above us as well.
Yeah, and that's the messaging I think every Bopens Bay fan wants to hear, is that you're not resting on your laurels, you're not celebrating just the one win. It's a journey, as we've touched on before, and I think I'm excited to see what happens for the rest of the year. Let's also touch on, obviously, we had that 4th game on Saturday. Rising Stars men came back for their first game of the year. Played a very slick Marist team, but that's a program that we've always talked about is going to be a work in progress. It's year 3, which is still very early in football terms. And obviously it's probably one of the tougher ones. It's probably one of the tougher jobs to have, being a coach of that team, because there's so much turnover. But how did you feel about the way they played on Saturday?
The first quarter was insane, mate. Or the first 10, 15 minutes, they just turned up, our boys. They were tackling strong. They were defending well behind the ball. They were getting some good looks forward as well. And then, they ultimately just sort of ran out of puff, and Maris outran them. But I think it's obviously important to know that, arguably their 2 best players in Ryder Freya and James Collins are playing important roles in our first grade men's team at the moment as well. So, if you add those back in, I know Indy Follett copped the head knock on the weekend as well, who's, arguably one of the better players as well. So, with probably three of your top players out, especially in that second half, it was probably going to take its toll. But like you say, mate, that program for us, it's just really important. It's not so much. I know it sounds a bit cliche, I guess, but that program for us isn't really about wins or losses. It's about developing our footballers and being able to, bring players into our two senior programs out of that. And, lucky enough that we have in recent years. I mean, if you look at guys there now in our first grade side, like Tully Ware, Alex Makey, Jed Ware, um, Jack West. There's a few, like obviously James Collins, Ryder Freya. And then you've got guys in that reserve grade as well. So you've got Aiden Patterson, Jacob Pike, Asher Holtzheimer. So these guys are staying involved and engaged in our programs, and they're getting better. And and that's what it's all about, mate. At the end of the day, we want these guys to love being involved with the footy club and hang around and play important roles in our senior programs.
And as you said, as you're saying, the fruit of those labours are already showing. So, mate, what's coming up next? Where's the next game? Who are we against? Walk us through that.
Well, thankfully, mate, we've got a spell for a couple of weeks. Thank goodness. So there's a club bye this week. And then that'll lead into the general Anzac Day bye. So be no footy for a couple of weeks, and then all 5 grades will play Tuggeranong Valley again on the 2nd of May up at Greenway Oval up there at Tuggeranong.
That'll be the first big Canberra road trip.
Yeah, so there'll be the 3 games on the Saturday. So second grade men, first grade men and women. And then on the Sunday will be under 18s men, under 18s women. Same team, same venue, but just on a different day. Looking forward to that. Like I said before, obviously really looking forward to see how both our first grade men and women's teams have improved, from the 4 or 5 weeks ago when we played them.
Yeah. Well, mate, look, I think that's probably all we can talk about, really. I mean, there's more we could talk about, but we're limited to an hour for various reasons. Any last thoughts you want to share about the last month of football for yourself or for the club?
I mean, there's still, like I say, mate, it's still a big calendar. It's a big calendar year of footy, so still a lot that's going to happen throughout the year. We've got Seahawks Lotto, which is up and running at the moment. Still a few tickets there if anyone wants to get involved. I know times are pretty tough at the moment with what's going on, but there's still option to get involved in that. We've got our Ladies' Day, save the date, so that's coming up. Probably our next real big event, which is our Ladies' Day on the 13th of June. And then there'll be some more details out in the coming weeks about our big anniversary weekend on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of July. So we'll probably start releasing some tickets to the gala event on that weekend. Probably by the end of this month. And big weekend like we spoke about on here before. We've got the golf day, past players golf day. Be a family day on the Sunday. So still plenty of things happening, mate, for sure.
Busy times, and then obviously for any further information on any of those events, just go to the Bateman's Bay Seahawks Facebook page.
Facebook, Instagram, website as well, mate. Been a little bit slack on there, but playing in catch-up mode at the moment. So we'll get to update that over the next couple of weeks as well.
And I'm sure we'll keep mentioning these on the podcast as well. So keep listening to the podcast, and that's not for selfish reasons at all.
Yeah, and we'll make sure we're a bit more engaged with the podcast over the next couple of months as well.
Yeah, look, as we said at the start of the show, it's been a wild week. It's been a wild month for Mick. I've just been up here in Queensland doing my thing, so don't blame. I'm not. It's not like I've been tired or anything, but look, we're going to get back on the train with guests. We'll go back to our usual format for the next show, which will probably be either next week or the week after. But hey, thanks for being patient with us. we know how we know that a lot of people at the club love this podcast, and we want to keep bringing you the best, I guess, the best product we can. So, yeah, it's been a massive month.
Probably just one thing too, Jolly, before we do close it off, is just a big thank you to everyone, supporters, opposition clubs, players, footy managers, just around their support of everything in the last couple of weeks. Obviously around Huddle Round, but around the results on the weekend as well. I've had so many people reach out to me. I know Marto's had plenty of people reach out to him as well, and yeah, the support is very much appreciated, and yeah, we feel love at the moment.
Well, speaking of, AFL Canberra did their weekly wrap earlier today, and it was all led by the fact that the club had their two first grade wins on the weekend. So yeah, you're right. A lot of support from the wider competition, which is fantastic.
Yep.
Hey, thanks, Mick.
It's
been a massive month, but it's good to be back, and we will see you all in a couple of weeks.
Beautiful. Thanks, Charlie.
Cheers, mate.
Hey, mate.